Prince Harry's turned his back on a family and a nation that adored him. He was a lovable rogue whose childhood heartbreak united the country in goodwill. We're all very proud of him as he served in the British Army. We cheered his wedding, celebrated the glamorous biracial future of the new monarchy. He had it all, Harry, but he's burned most of it to the ground, charged by bitterness and resentment. He's waged war on his family by telling the lurid story of his private life to a media industry he says he hates for invading his private life. And that's at the heart of why I think the public here have grown a bit tired of Harry. They view him as a hypocrite. He spews his truth to the highest bidders whilst repeatedly demanding privacy. He rails against his family for sharing details of their conversations while exposing family secrets and family feuds in books and interviews for millions of dollars. He's reinvented himself as a be kind feminist and mental health campaigner while showing blatant disregard for anyone other than himself. Nothing better sums it up than his decision to tell the story of losing his virginity in his memoir Spare.
I suspected he was referring to my recent loss of virginity. Inglorious episode with an older woman. She liked horses quite a lot and treated me not unlike a young stallion. Quick ride, after which she'd smack my rump and sent me off to graze. Among the many things about it that were wrong, it happened in a grassy field behind a busy pub.
Well, that story triggered an inevitable avalanche of speculation. Actress Liz Hurley had to deny reports it was her, as did the chief executive of Cotswold Airport, Susanna Harvey, and his former lover, Catherine Omanay, and polo coach Emma Tomlinson. Among others, just last weekend, the actor Rupert Everett said he knew who it was, and he thought it had happened at a ski chalet. Well, Harry knew that he'd ignited fevered conjecture, but still chose to unpin that grenade and walk away. And that unfair speculation about innocent people is why Sasha Walpole has now felt obliged to tell her story. She kept Harry's secret for 21 years, but he left her with no choice. For all his bleating about privacy, Harry simply didn't bother to worry about hers. He didn't think about how writing in florid detail about losing his virginity might upset Sasha, her children, her husband, her parents, her friends. Sasha, on the other hand, has treated Harry with unwavering respect. She'd have taken the story to the grave if he'd allowed her to. She could have sold a story at any time in the last 2 decades as he's sold his. But she chose not to. She behaved with decency, discretion and duty, which ironically are the very qualities we expect of our royals. The late Queen did that so masterfully. King Charles does it too. So did Prince William, Princess Kate. Harry is the rogue royal, but not quite so lovable anymore. We now know that the older woman, Sasha, is actually younger than his wife, Meghan Markle. She speaks affectionately about Harry, even now, and recalls humble tales of youthful frolics in rural pubs that will be familiar to millions of British people. She drives 3-ton diggers, works on Guardian patios, and leads an honest life with her family in Wiltshire. One that's pretty private, actually, and certainly worlds away from a luxury Californian pedestal from which the privacy-preaching prince shoots his poisoned darts back at his family in Britain. But it's actually people like Sasha Walpole who represent the very best of British values. Sadly, I'm not so sure that can be said about Harry anymore. Well, Sasha Walpole joins me now.
Hi.
A week ago, I'd never heard of you.
No, I know.
Nor did anybody else apart from your family and friends. And now you're like this globally known person, and actually, through no fault of your own or desire to be publicly known at all.
No, I know it's been a bit of a whirlwind week, and hopefully it's a means to an end, and I can get back to normality, go back to work, drive my digger, hide back under my rock.
How do you feel about the way this has all exploded in your life?
Very surreal. Still doesn't seem real. Don't know, kind of shocked, really. I didn't think that it would hit the headlines like it did. I mean, there's a lot of worse stuff going on in the world right now that probably needs more of a focus. Obviously, we have the earthquake and a few other things going on, the war in Ukraine. But yeah, I never thought it would happen like it has.
I mean, it's been a fascinating thing to watch unfurl because I used to run national newspapers, so I knew exactly what would happen. The moment Harry put in this book the details of how he lost his virginity to an older woman in a field behind the back of a pub, I just thought, well, I know what's happening now. Every single news desk in Fleet Street and every TV network, they're all sending people off to try and find this poor woman who has probably never said a word about this and now is going to be on the front page of papers from here to America, to China, to Timbuktu.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I had a bit of a run-in with the paparazzi back in 2001, so I kind of knew how it can turn out. And at first I was a bit like, no, just hide, it'll be fine, it'll go away, like I have done, you know, in the past. And then suddenly you realise that it's getting closer, your world's getting smaller, a lot more people are talking about it. You know, friends from back home are getting questioned, accused, and I was just like, do you know what? The way to stop it is just come forward and say it's me, and then hopefully, you know, sooner it's come out, it will go, and I can carry on with my little life.
When was the first moment that you knew that you were in this book?
When my friend sent me a screenshot of a comment via WhatsApp, and I was just sat on my sofa watching telly, and yeah, I kind of didn't quite know what to do about it.
Were you shocked? Were you?
I was,
a bit scared about what may happen to you? Or?
Disbelief. Disbelief. He went into so much detail because then it's obvious who it was. So for me, that was like a huge thing because then suddenly I was like, oh no, everyone's going to know. And then, yeah, next day all the messages started flooding in.
I'm trying to imagine what it must be like when we played the clip of Harry. I don't know if we can play it again, but we played the clip of Harry talking about this. I just want to sort of look at you as you listen to this, because I'm trying to imagine what it must be like to have been you when he came out with this, not just in written word, but also in spoken word. This is a guy who's sixth in line or fifth in line to the throne of this country, talking about losing his virginity to you. Yeah. Sasha Walpole, let's take a listen.
I suspected he was referring to my recent loss of virginity. Inglorious episode with an older woman. She liked horses quite a lot and treated me not unlike a young stallion. Quick ride, after which she'd smack my rump and sent me off to graze. Among the many things about it that were wrong, it happened in a grassy field behind a busy pub.
What did you feel when you heard this?
I don't really know. I can see the humour side of the horse, because obviously...
You were a groom at the time at Highgrove?
Yeah, I was a groom. Well, not at the time, but I was a groom. I'd left Highgrove by the time this had happened.
Right.
But, yeah, I don't know, I could see the funny side to it. You know, we were two friends, and for me, I still see him as Harry. I still see him as a friend that I used to hang out with down the pub, you know, go and watch the polo with, and yeah, it was just...
We're seeing pictures of you both there with some other friends clowning around and stuff. I mean, I suppose that my response to it when I first heard about this was, I thought it was breathtaking. I've got to be honest, breathtakingly hypocritical of someone who goes on and on about privacy to then reveal such a private thing, but not just about himself, but to inevitably spark the trail of interest that would lead to your door without even having the good grace to let you know he was doing it.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to live a private life and you want to get out of the limelight and leave the royal family or whatever, to live your life as you want to live it, to then sell a book and go on Netflix is kind of going against what you're saying you want. But yeah, I just have
nobody. He didn't call you, or none of his. Nobody contacted you to say you're in the book.
No.
The first you knew was a friend WhatsApping you.
Yep.
To say, well, this is you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Were you like, oh my God?
I was. Yeah. Well, I think I probably used a little bit stronger language. I almost fell off my sofa. But yeah, it was just, you know. And then obviously all the jokes come in about young stallion and the older lady and.
I mean, some of the language he used there, I thought was actually quite disrespectful. It was kind of like. It was all wrong. You were an older woman, treating him like a stallion. It was all...
Yeah, I think it's just the way that it's written. You know, the thing wrong about it, we were two friends. It should never have happened. We crossed the line. It was never intentional. There was nothing before, nothing after. I mean, inglorious. It's not really that glorious, sleeping with someone in a field behind a pub when you're drunk.
I don't know.
Well, you know.
Have your moments?
Yeah, sometimes.
Would you agree it was inglorious then? Or?
You know, there is nothing glorious about being drunk and then copping off with one of your mates in a field.
I don't know, actually, Sasha. No. I did that loads of times when I was young. Always felt pretty glorious in the moment. It was the next morning was the problem.
Yeah, I think that's probably what we all felt.
Let's go back. I want to go back to where it all started, because it's kind of fascinating that you've been a groom at Highgrove, like you said, but you frequented this local pub. So there were two pubs in the area. So tell me about the two pubs. Yeah,
I mean, we used to drink at the Rattlebone quite a lot, which is obviously mentioned quite a lot. And then we used to go to the Vine Tree, and there was another one, the Cat and Custard.
The Vine Tree was the crime scene.
Yep, that's where the crime took place. Yep.
But you would go in these pubs, and it was perfectly normal that Harry and William, in fact, who was in the pub actually on the night in question, but they would both come down as young princes, and they'd hang out with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think... It's like I said before, it was just a group of friends. So it didn't matter if you're a prince, a rider, a groom, a polo player. We were just like, we had horses in common and we just hung out.
Any other
really
royals
nice.
going there?
Not really. I think Zara may have popped in once or twice, but it was just mainly William and Harry. That was their local.
No sign of Uncle Andrew?
No sign of Uncle Andrew.
Just as well, probably.
Yep.
So the atmosphere was very relaxed, even though they were royals and you were the royal groom or had been, and the others were just local. It didn't really matter what class you were from, what part of society. They didn't care. No one cared.
No, at the end of the day, you can't be a polo player without a groom. Because if you haven't got someone doing your horses, you can't play polo.
Right.
And it's the same.
And pubs,
throughout
when I
the
grew up in
horsey
a
world.
pub, pubs are pretty, egalitarian places. Like anything goes, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether you're rich, you're poor, you're this, you're that. It doesn't matter. Everyone just mixes in a pub.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And, I generally look back on my years of teenage and young adulthood of fond memories. I really do. Yeah, good fun, a laugh. Luckily it was before any social media and, camera phones.
Well, now it
around.
wouldn't happen probably because there'd be too many phones out.
Yeah.
The royals would, sad for them, but, you wouldn't better go to a local pub like that probably.
No, and it is, you think he probably did have one of the better times growing up because he isn't growing up with social media. He isn't growing up with a camera phone in his face.
What was he like then? As I said, he was 16, so what was he like?
He was lovely. He was, fun, sparky. He was just one of the boys. He was, he was a lad. And he was good fun to be around.
Yeah, I mean, he was 16, which was just been a few years after, obviously, his mother died in this terrible tragedy. Had you known him in the aftermath of that? Had you spoken to him about
I didn't. I didn't get to know him sort of until a bit later on from that. And to be fair, he never ever sort of spoke about it. We just kept it light-hearted. We were just mates. We just talked about polo, horses, going to the pub. Yeah.
And you'd become sort of quite good friends. He would ring up your home.
Yeah.
And he'd text you and stuff.
Yeah. Generally, if
sometimes you ring the
home,
landline and your mum would answer the
she
phone.
Would,
What did he call himself?
Just Harry.
Yeah.
Yeah, Harry, and then we'd have a chat and then probably arrange to meet up somewhere, go and watch the polo or see what everyone else was doing, see what the plan was.
When you make it sound perfectly normal, but how did your mum feel that Prince Harry was ringing her daughter?
I don't know. I think because they knew that we all hung out in a group and it wasn't really a big thing back home. I think the first time we did it, she was a bit like, oh, is that Harry? And I was like, yeah. She's like, oh, how funny. And that was about it, really. I mean...
Did you call him H, like his wife does now?
No, only in text messages. Maybe he used to sign off as H, but I just thought that's because he couldn't be bothered to write Harry.
And from what I could gather, a lot of drinking went on at this pub.
Yeah, I mean...
On the night in question, I read that you'd had 10 shots. Is that right? We
did between us. It was a bit of a funny night. It was the night before my birthday, so I was actually 18. But, yeah, and... I think...
And you'd had a difficult problem because you'd broken up with this guy and he then rocks up in the pub with his new girlfriend.
Yeah, well, he rocked up and then she rocked up after. And I think when she rocked up, he could sense that I was a bit, oh, that's pretty crap. So he then was like, come on, let's, lighten the mood, have a laugh, and like I say, it just...
What were the shots?
I think it was a mixture, if I'm honest. I don't think it was... One was a creamy one, so I assume it was Bailey's.
Bailey's?
Yeah.
Oh, my God, Bailey's shots.
Bailey's, whiskey, Sambuca.
Really? All going down?
Yeah.
So he was a shoulder to cry on?
He was. I'm not one for attention, so I just kind of get on with things. But, I just think that he sensed that, I'd not be OK with that and sort of try just to lighten the mood and have a laugh, change. It's not something he would do on a regular basis. I think he generally was just trying to make me feel...
And he had a birthday card for you.
He did.
Which he'd handwritten.
Yeah.
We've got it here, I think. And it said, Dear Sash, have a very happy birthday and don't get too pissed. Luckily, I'll be there to keep an eye on you. Loads of love, Baz.
Yeah.
Why did he call himself Baz?
I have no idea. But he always used to sign himself off in different ways, H-Baz.
P.S. Thanks for everything. What do you think he meant by that?
Just as friends, really. I don't think there was anything specific behind it. We just talking, chatting, but nothing about anything in particular. I think it was just a nice comment to put in a card.
It was also a toy that he gave you.
It was, yeah.
What was it?
Miss Piggy.
Why?
I think he won it at the Thorpe Park that day and just thought it'd be quite nice to give it to me.
So he won a prize and then just decided to re-gift it?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. But that's the relationship it was. There was nothing... I wouldn't even expect a card or a teddy. It was just come and celebrate and have a laugh.